Half our team's in study hall.
Test. they need to get it down to a reasonable level, 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 level. what's going on outside, like if it's like very clearly like there's fights breaking out, that kind of thing.
How will these policies affect parties like Holiday and stuff?
Great question. All the policies will be followed exactly the same on, the question, sorry, I'm sorry. How would like parties like Hollow Greens and the Big Greens parties be affected? All the policies will still apply, so the same thing goes. They will be applying like open canister, overflowing parties. They will add restrictions to, who can come in. They will check IDs. I believe they did that last year, where like anyone that's not a student at St. Mary's won't be allowed in. But other than that, nothing should change. The answer? Nothing should change. All policies should stay the same. They'll check student IDs. So last year, I believe, at roads, like any people entering, not alcohol IDs, they're checking school IDs for people that are entering the school, because they'll barricade the entrance to the campus. Does that make sense? I believe they did that last year. I wasn't here, so.
I think there was some confusion on how they're being fined if there was a party and that was not by PS. Is it $100 for each host, or is it $100 for every underage person that's within that party to the host?
Okay, so the question was, is it for social host? Are you getting fined per policy break, or are you getting fined per resident? The answer to that is it's not about policy breaking. It's about just the residents who are fined a flat fee of $100 per host.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So it's $400 per host.
Yes, or 500. Yeah, if it's a townhouse. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's clear. It's good.
It's also like up to conduct board. Like this isn't really our field, but that's like really up to conduct board's interpretation.
Does that answer your question?
I'm not sure if this is make clear. At what point do you become a social host? Like, just if they can hear my music and mingle outside, like, am I a social host at that point?
That's decided by conduct board.
Okay.
So if you're mentioned in a report and if you're documented at some point, they will decide whether it qualifies as social host. No RA is going in like, you're a social host, we're going to write you up. We're just writing what we see, like we're going to see underage drinking, we're going to see this, this, and this. It was at this person's house. And so then they will decide as conduct board officials who is going to be fined at that point. Does that make sense?
We're not getting a warning, right? Like, we're getting written up and charged. Like, can we get a warning first?
Or for social hosts or for? Well, so this was asked, are they getting a warning? Basically, if the warning, I think the warning system is going to be like on noise. If we'll knock on the door, be like, hey, this is uncool, like leave. And then if it becomes an issue, the RA will ask to come in, and then documentation will start. So it's probably going to be like one time, and then. I don't believe so.
It kind of depends on the situation. And what we're doing is just writing down what we see. So if like PS kind of makes the decision to like break up a party or whatever, so we just kind of write down what we see.
And then PS and RAs will do the same. I think that's just explain. Well, technically, the rules are yes, you have to have it on you all times. I also don't carry it on me on all times. I think most people are reasonable to say like yes, if you're coherent enough, yes, there should be. I know, I completely understand, but I don't see why it would be an issue if you explain that to the official whoever is documenting. You should not. No. River. This is just like to clarify. This is just clarification of the rules, and then people can share their opinions, thoughts, concerns afterwards. Yeah? That's so. I just want to say, we wrote the speaker policy. Social host is still like very much new and has a lot of indiscrepancies. And that's what this, I feel like this meeting is supposed to clarify, that we need to clear that up. Right, I agree. Right, I agree. So that is the indiscrepancy. So there has been the issue of like, yes, you can be liable, or no, you cannot be liable because it's a public space. I think most individual actions will be documented and accountable for individuals, not social hosts. If it gets to the point where someone does feel that, so an example, for example, this is something that people have been talking about. If there's evidence that someone was providing alcohol to everyone outside of the house, that is a social host. That would be considered social host. If people are just gathering under your house and there's no issues, and if someone has an open container, that person is liable for that. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, that's not what was communicated to us, and Efron sent it out. It said that if you are over 21 and you have people under 21 drinking in your house, regardless of whether you or not you physically supplied them that alcohol, then you are responsible for it. So that is what was communicated to us.
Yeah. Well, that's why there's a lot of miscommunication on everyone's part, and that is something we're trying to clear up now. And on administration parts, RA's parts, and between students. So that, as of now, is.
Also, just so you guys know, we're just talking about speakers here. There's student speak out coming up. If you have questions about social hosts and stuff, please do that then.
Speaker question. I love those. I can answer those.
Alright, so let's say I live in Oakview, I'm projecting music on a Friday night or whatever. How many people do I have to get permission from? How many neighbors?
Right.
Do I need to get all of Oakview? Do I need just to keep London?
Right. So the question was, if you're playing music in LQ out of your window, who are you actually talking to set an appropriate level? So basically, anyone that would be hearing it, I'd say you can run a test, you can play music out your window, see who's how far it actually goes. It basically comes down to who's actually going to be hearing it. Does that answer? It's a really broad answer, but
should I just talk to an RA and be like, is this?
Yeah, you can also we do encourage talk to your RA. We know not everyone's going to do that, but if you talk to your RA, that's a good way to set an appropriate level. Oh. Yes. Right. So again, we're just presenting the speaker policy right now. But to answer your question, that's kind of, it's just the way the college is set up, and the way open container law is enforced. It is counted as public space by the college policy. Okay. We got 3 more questions. So the question was, if you set up a speaker in the middle of the greens, how would this policy affect that? So what I would say is that's again the same rules apply. You kind of have to talk to whoever's gonna hear that, or whoever that's gonna affect, pretty much. Yes. Yeah, definitely talk to your RA about it is what I'd say.
And And if it becomes an issue, that first time where you're talking with like the officials, they ideally, so this hasn't been like set in stone yet, but ideally the enforcement will go to like the PS officer is going to come to you and be like, okay, let's set it at this level. And if it changes from that level from the rest of the night, that's when documentation will take place. Does that make sense? Okay. 2 more questions, go.
Okay, so let's say you have an agreement with the RAs, like this is the volume you should keep it at.
Yeah.
And you keep it at that volume, and then someone, perhaps a neighbor that you're unaware of, calls into the RAs or even PS and says this is too loud. Who gets priority in that situation? The person who created the tentative agreement with the RAs, or the person who says, I live on the green and I don't like to listen to music ever?
Good question. It's really the basis of this policy is about community engagement. So you really need to talk to your neighbors. Because we also base this in like sort of a real life example. So if you lived in an apartment and your neighbors were like just not having it, then the police would be involved. So we're trying to like not get to that step of, go ahead.
But my fear is that there could very well be someone who just calls in every single Friday and Saturday night and says this is too loud no matter what. So doesn't that just mean we're inevitably going to get written up?
We can, so there's resources. RAs are more than happy to have mediations to discuss that between the community. If you don't...
They're just still going to say it's too loud, like that's a problem. It's like the specific sticklers that want to like get other people in trouble.
Yeah.
It's like weeding out the
Okay, to repeat the question, there is like indiscrepancies between like community members like just not wanting to have music at all on the greens, or and they will like consistently call and like shut down any party even though that a level has been set. That's a hard one to address. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, but that's something you have to have a conversation with the individuals. I mean, those people are going to exist regardless of where you are. So I'm like, if that means like having a mediation, which we will work very hard to have a compromise. I'm a big proponent of that. I know that's not capable at all the time, but that's like a very individual situation, and conversations can be had like individually and privately. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
This is my fault because I forgot to go over this at the beginning, so I apologize. But tonight we're going to try and have a hard cutoff of 10 o'clock. So try and keep your points concise, please. So that gives us about an hour and 10 minutes. Really, we can get through everybody who wants to speak in an hour and 10 minutes. Also, we're going to have a few speakers who have like sent their points to me that they want to say and have written everything out. So they're going to go, and then we're going to open up the floor to students speak out. They're not going to take too long. No questions, please, for them, because we just kind of want to get everyone the chance to speak tonight. So, thank you.
Class of 2018 alumni, Anna Rose Kennedy.
I graduated from St. Should I be addressing this? Okay, whatever. I graduated from St. Mary's College this past May. I came here tonight not only to support the students of this institution and to be an ally to their cause, but also to emphasize to staff members and the administration the utmost importance of listening to and empowering student voices. I hope tonight, as well as future forms of activism by St. Mary's students, is treated with seriousness and not just as a formality. I conducted my St. Mary's project on the power of student voices through resistance and activism with a focus at St. Mary's College. Administrators and staff members interviewed for my project repeatedly explained that part of their role is to provide a space for students to find and use their voices. One administrator stated, quote, "Student activism is the practical manifestation of being a good citizen," end quote. I bring this up because I want to remind you all that part of the mission of this institution is to cultivate and promote social responsibility, something that cannot be achieved if you do not give students the chance to make thoughtful decisions for themselves. I want to share some quotes from students I interviewed last year regarding their thoughts about the relationship between students and administration. I want to clarify that these are not the views of all students, and I understand that current students can advocate and state for themselves the intricate thoughts they have about these enforcement policies, but I want to emphasize that this lack of effective communication is not new to decisions regarding student life at St. Mary's. Quote, I can't recall the last time I had an administrator listen to one of my concerns and do something about it. When you come to them, you expect help and support and guidance, but most of the time I feel like we either don't get that or we get a fake version of that where nothing comes of it. When we come to administration, we have the expectation that they're going to take us seriously and treat us like adults. We expect to have a productive conversation and not be treated like we're children. I constantly feel like I'm being talked to as a child. A lot of people under the Student Affairs Division treat students that are upset as disobedient and unruly children. When students go and interact with these people and they're treated like disobedient children or like they're disobeying their parents, students get a very negative perception of that. I think it puts us at a disadvantage when going into the real world because I feel like it gives students the idea that you're just below everyone. Not being able to really voice your concerns and expect anything to happen is discouraging, end quote. There is clearly a gap in productive communication that has existed long before the enforcement of these harsh policies. If there is to be any collaboration that results in positive change, the members of this community need to be able to trust each other and openly express their opinions and perspectives with the expectation that their ideas will be heard. The importance of honesty and trust on this campus is invaluable. If these two ideals do not exist within this campus community, then no relationship will exist among students and the administration. We need to encourage opposition of opinions in a productive manner that fosters an environment where students can discuss tough issues with their peers and come up with potential solutions for how to fix these problems. The students at St. Mary's have so much to learn about themselves and the members of their community, and if you do not give them the space to learn from their mistakes and from their community members, then they cannot be productive members of society. Pushing harsh restrictions on student life will not decrease binge drinking or reduce the risk of dangerous behavior. It will only negatively affect their ability to foster relationships with people based on respect, open-mindedness, and social engagement. In order to actively combat binge drinking and other forms of dangerous behavior, there needs to be a collaborative, ongoing dialogue between students and the administration, a dialogue that many administrators emphasize is the key to an inclusive and productive community. This is an issue that directly affects the students, so instead of enforcing harsh policies that will have the opposite of the intended impact, you must include students in this effort. Ask students directly what they think the community can do to alleviate these issues, whether that be through a Google form, an open forum, an organization of a student committee that focuses on engaging community members to reduce binge drinking, hanging up flyers at the green door, or even having multiple choice questions and quizzes set up at the tables in the great room and other communal places on campus that discuss the risks of binge drinking and inform students about what to do in the case of an emergency. Underage drinking is inevitable, and to think otherwise would be a naive and grave mistake. Instead, give students the knowledge necessary to help out their peers in a time of need. I want to emphasize the importance of carrying this dialogue and conversation throughout everyone's time at St. Mary's. Positive change does not come from one conversation or one enforcement policy. Change comes from ongoing, inclusive dialogues with every member of this community, especially the students. As someone who lived on the townhouse greens last year, and who spent the 3 years prior meeting and engaging with diverse groups of people at social gatherings there, I can say with full confidence that it is an invaluable part of the experience at St. Mary's. The fact that there is an open space on this campus that has been and has the potential to be a place that cultivates and creates long-lasting friendships and relationships is something incredibly unique to St. Mary's. I am the person I am today, not only because of the education I received at this institution, but also, and most especially, because of the beautiful people I met along the way who helped me grow exponentially and changed me for the better. This is not just about the issue of binge drinking and other forms of dangerous behavior. This is about how you want the students of this school to go into the world once they graduate. Do you want them to leave this place with the mindset that they are not independent, not capable of facilitating community engagement, and not equipped with the skills necessary to solve problems with their peers? Or do you want them to graduate prepared, responsible, socially conscious, thoughtful global citizens and leaders, as stated in the goals of this school? I want to finish by addressing the students of St. Mary's specifically. Never stop standing up for what you believe in, and never stop elevating the voices of your peers, especially those who do not always have the privilege of freely expressing their opinions. You have more power and more potential than you even know, and my hope is that you graduate from this place with the experiences necessary to be passionate, involved, and productive members of society. Thanks.
Class of 2019, Jake Mankey.
One, Anna Rose, that was awesome. I don't know how I'll follow that at all, but it's okay. First off, I'd like to thank SGA and faculty for allowing me to speak today. Like they said, I'm Jake Mankey. I'm a senior here. I live on the Townhouse Greens. I'm a physics major, math minor, and religious studies minor. And when I'm not in the library or in the classroom, you can find me on the basketball court as part of the men's basketball team, an orientation leader and part of the O team, as well as today I'm going to talk about specifically the survey that was sent out back in 2016, as well as the open invitation and the amplified and live music policies. And honestly, to me, I think all three of these things have severely affected St. Mary's culture, and they should be changed to where we can regain our culture of diversity here at St. Mary's. And my one question initially was, why are all these policies being emphasized if they've been in place for all these years? For me, my 3 years I've been at St. Mary's, I've never seen some of these policies enforced per se. Every time I've gone to the Greens, there's been people there interacting with each other. There's been music playing everywhere, and to me, I'm really wondering, why is it now that the policies are being enforced and emphasized so strongly currently? So based on the flyers that were sent out, it read that based upon gathering data and surveys of St. Mary's, there's been a large reporting of binge drinking. Right here, is this better? All right, apologies, I'm tall. So online for the past couple of nights, I've been, hold it? Here, my bad. So the last couple of days, I've been looking for the 2016 data and survey information online. And unfortunately, the only info I was able to find was on the St. Mary's biennial review on alcohol and other drug programs online. And to me, I found a lot of stats on there that seemed a little bit skewed per se. I was able to look and find the 2014 data, which had 10 out of 50 schools from Maryland, whether they are a university, four-year college, or a community college. And they found, in those specifically, within those results, they showed that the students overestimated their friends as well as their own drinking abilities. So I feel like everything that we've had on our survey and the data that we have online is definitely 100% skewed, because we don't know for sure if there is an overestimation or an accurate assumption of the actual binge drinking on campus. The other thing I wanted to say was, because we can't find the 2016 data, or we don't have easy access to the 2016 data, we don't know for sure how skewed it can be, because also in that it stated the data can be severely skewed to specific groups such as athletes, white males, and fraternities and sororities. We don't have fraternities and sororities, but we definitely have the other two in a large amount. And so the data states online that only like 29, I'm a stats guy in physics, sorry. So 29.8% of the people responded on St. Mary's. So looking at those numbers, that's only 498 out of 1,671 students. So this one thing is definitely a thing that's kind of off a little bit. And also, without the data, we can't know the student demographics of who actually took the survey, not necessarily specific names, but if they were student athletes, race, ethnicity, what their hobbies were on weekends, etc. And to me, if we're not able to see this data and actually access it, how are we going to be able to implement these new enforcements on campus without like visual proof for everyone to be able to access easily? And yeah, for that, I really wonder like how can we emphasize and enforce these things if we aren't able to actually see it as students, because we need to be able to see this and have a voice in this situation. All right, so a little bit less numbers now. So another thing that I wanted to talk about was the open invitation party, and Anna Rose talked about it specifically, like on the greens and in any party at St. Mary's, your big thing is going to be interacting with as many people as you can and getting to know as many people as you can. For me, in my first year, I come from a very small town in rural North Carolina, and I live 7 hours away, knew 0 people here. My first weekend, I luckily had a senior on the basketball team who was able to be like, hey, like, let me introduce you to some people. You don't look like you're having too much fun yet. And to me, that night, I probably met at least half the campus just from bouncing around between party to party. And to me, if we keep this open invitation parties or social gatherings thing like cut off to where you need to have invite only, I feel like you can't have the interaction between students, and it's going to be very divided because friends are going to stay with friends and you're not going to get the intermingling of people. And for St. Mary's to be able to have seniors, juniors, sophomores, first years, and everyone to be able to interact with each other, that is a huge thing for me, and it has really, really helped me grow as a student and a person here. And I don't know why I would not do that and have open invitations. And I understand the open door policy can affect like fire code and things like that, but there's also more benefits that you can have. And with these open invitations, you can also have social gatherings outside instead of inside, and that'll take care of the fire hazard as well. And with that, the last thing I want to talk about is the amplified and live music. As many people know and many students know, music is pretty much the center and backbone of any social gathering. Like, who's going to show up to any event if it's just quiet and people are standing around doing nothing? And to me, this is almost ludicrous, because if all this is based on the stats itself online, then I don't know the correlation between music being played and binge drinking happening on campus. And that's me personally. I've talked to a couple other people as well, and I'm still trying to find the connections there. And with these things still on campus, a lot of the St. Mary's students do live on campus, and we want to be able to communicate and have a community here on campus. And so if we keep these in place, this may encourage people to start going off of campus. And when you go off campus, you do lose control of the situation, and there can be even more things that happen. Some of those things can include, if you do go to an off-campus party, you have not St. Mary's people involved, so you have actual police, you have other people who don't go to St. Mary's and know how we interact with each other, and this will also but this may also affect drunk driving, because at social gatherings and parties there will be drinking occurring, whether they are under 21 or older than 21, and this may cause an issue, especially if we can't have as much safe ride stuff happening. And if we have it on campus, it allows us to have St. Mary's support from students as well as faculty and public safety, because in my interactions that I've had with parties in the last 3 years, public safety, faculty, and students all look out for each other to make sure we are safe and we have a good time, and also to make sure that nothing bad will happen to us. And this really helps uphold the St. Mary's Way. And the two things specifically from the St. Mary's Way I wanted to talk about was, one, St. Mary's is where people take individual responsibility for their work and actions. And with this allows people to, say one friend is in need of help, they can either A, work with themselves, or B, have their friends around them work with them and really help them and assist them in whatever need they have. And the second one was, St. Mary's is where people foster relationships based upon mutual respect, honesty, integrity, and trust. And to me, emphasizing a lot of these new policies shows the lack of trust in the St. Mary's students, even though I know that we're all great students and we're all great people here. The fact that we are enforcing this, even though it's already been a policy, the fact that we're enforcing this now is a really big hit on trust, because this is saying we don't trust you guys enough, so we're going to document you and have a negative punishment for something like this. I'll take that. And so my last question I have is, what does it say when a school can't trust the students they choose to admit? And to me, this is the biggest question I have. And so the very last thing before I put the mic down, I really hope that we are able to get some more form of dialogue to change some of these policies. Sam and Dan, you guys did great with the speaker thing, and I really hope it actually does follow through. And lastly, I'd like to thank SGA for letting me speak again. Faculty, thank you for being here and hearing us speak. And finally, shout out to everybody behind me for actually showing up and giving support. Thank you.
Class of 2019, Rachel Yates.
Hello, my name is Rachel Yates, and I am a double major in French and History. I would like to note that I am a good student. Is it good? No. Okay. I would like to note that I am a good student who prioritizes work over partying. Normally, I would be spending this time working on my St. Mary's project or doing my reading for tomorrow, but instead I am taking time out of that to write this up and speak out to you, the administration, before the SGA, with the support of my fellow classmates, to show that there is something wrong going on with the administration of this school right now. Out of nowhere, at the beginning of this school year, you, the administration, put in place a new enforcement policy against social events, also known as parties. My first problem with this is the policy of no speakers facing outside. I have heard people defend this because it is a noise pollution. But if a speaker on a Friday night is noise pollution, what about the speakers at the River Concert Series on the greens during the summer? Or the speakers on a Friday afternoon soccer game, or lacrosse game, or field hockey game? Isn't that a bit more distracting? Isn't that a more distracting noise complaint, especially for students in Goodpasture, still in class? This new policy is invalid and hypocritical in that it targets students in their off time. There are so many events on campus that cause more noise pollution than a Friday or Saturday night party. Let students be able to listen to the art of music, because in reality, noise does no harm to others. My next concern is the enforcement policy of targeting underage students at social events that breaks this new and confusing policy. While this might be a surprise to you, there is a good portion of students on this campus who do not drink alcohol. Shocker, right? Well, if an underage student that does not dabble with the devil is at a social event where alcohol is present, will they still get written up? How will you know that this one student was sober when you begin writing everyone up, making these students who want to socialize but do not want to drink terrified to hang out with friends where music is present? This makes our campus environment unwelcoming. If I were this underage student, I would transfer to a more socially welcoming campus. These flaws and many other ones which I have not mentioned have created a tense and unwelcoming environment on this campus. And the way students are currently combating it is by hiding behind closed doors or going off campus. But do you realize what going off campus ends up doing? It exports the legal risk for the college. I don't see these new policies as a way to help binge drinking problems on campus. I see them as a way to export legal risk for the college so that their hands stay nice and clean. Pushing students off campus could potentially make students feel unsafe to speak up about Title IX issues if the administration seems to care more about enforcing a policy over addressing the health of its students. And let me just add that St. Mary's is a liberal bubble in a very rural and conservative county. Being
campus all the time has made us oblivious to the dangerous parts of the community, but soon we might not be so oblivious to this once you push your students to these dangers so that your hands can stay clean. It is sad to say, but as a senior, I am fortunate to only have to deal with this rule for 1 more year if it does not go away. While it sucks to say that, I'm just being honest. Yet just because my classmates and I will be gone, we will still be connected as alumni. Alumni who left with a bitter taste in our mouth about what the administration is making of our school. A bitter taste that will lead many future alumni, such as me, and many of my classmates, to be reluctant to donate and contribute to the advancements of this school if the administration is just trying to push it. But I will be stern in not supporting an administration that does not care for the students, and I am positive that there exists current alumni who feel the same. Along with this, I fear that many underclassmen may transfer or live off campus, which will further push them into dangerous situations, all because of this awful experience under the new policy. This new policy enforcement is not the reason they came, so it will definitely be the reason they leave. In the end, you promote that we are a community by putting a real emphasis on unity within the community, but this no longer feels like a community. There is a divide between the administration and the students. We students, we're speaking out because we want to fix this. We want to be heard. We want to work together, and we want to be part of this community, but we want to be safe. So please, listen to us, understand our demands, and meet us in a mutual place that actually allows us to relax from the stress of school and feel truly safe on this beautiful campus. Thank you.
Class of 2019, Alyssa Fisher.
Hello, everyone. Oh, man. That was just really, wow. Okay. A little speechless right now. Hey, I don't know. Okay, so like Davida said, my name is Alyssa. For those of you who don't know me, you probably know me from the Take Back the Greens group chat, which, by the way, when I started that, there was only 25 people in it, and within an hour, it got up to 250. Thank you. So the reason why I'm here today is to talk about public safety. So right now it feels like there's a lot of us putting blame on people, and it's kind of important to think of this situation holistically, which includes public safety and their viewpoints about enforcing these policies. So 2 years I actually conducted a project with public safety, collaborating with them. And what this project did was analyze the relationship between public safety and the students. And what public safety had expressed to me was that there's 3 types of students on this campus. Those of them that know them, who know them on a personal level, like being an RA, or like if they've been written up before. Yeah, kind of sucks. And then there's people that just don't know public safety, they've never had an interaction with them. But then there's also students that just hate public safety. And it's kind of safe to say that probably almost everyone in this room has an opinion about public safety based on first impressions and bad experiences that have been faced with other students or maybe even you. So in light of recent events, I went back to the PS office and conducted a follow-up session. I was pleasantly surprised to hear how passionate the officers were talking about the safety of students. They explained to me how the enforcement of these policies have changed this year. In the past, officers were able to exercise discretion in the situations where people's safety was not at risk. So for example, back to the open container policy, I know in past, people that are 21 have gone onto the greens with an open container, and public safety will respectively say, hey, can you pour it out? And students will respectively pour it out. But public safety the discretion has been taken away from public safety in an attempt to remain consistent with enforcement. Public safety isn't making these rules. This is their job, and they get paid to enforce these rules. So in order to create a safe campus community, public safety and students need to work together. We need to have a mutual respect for each other so that the policies are fair for both students and public safety, because writing up people a lot is just kind of annoying. But anyway,
So the new policy enforcement is making this goal of mutual respect unachievable. This is important so that the students feel safe reaching out to public safety when they are actually in danger. I also wanted to say that there are 2 public safety officers here tonight, and one of them had told me that they worked on Saturday at 3 p.m. all the way to Sunday at 3 p.m., managed to take a nap for 4 hours on the public safety floor, and then had to return back to work. But right now they're here on their day off supporting us. So just take that into consideration. Please respect them. And also they love to talk to students. That's all I have to say.
Class of 2019, Jake Korfman.
Hey. Evening, everybody. It's been a really long evening, and a lot of great stuff has already been said, so I'll try to keep this as short and sweet as possible. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all of our peers who spoke for us today. They're all very articulate and gave very well-rounded arguments for our cause, so let's give them another round of applause. And also for SGA for hosting this event and organizing everyone to get together. I'm sure we're all really happy about this. We can all say that. So we've heard logical arguments about how these policies increase risk for drunk driving or the lack of safety on off-campus parties, how valid the data is which the policies are based upon in the first place, and the importance of student activism, among other really great points. I'm here to focus on something I'm sure all alumni and students alike can relate to, the state of the ever-so-dwindling community aspect of St. Mary's. Obviously, administration's goal in the policies that we're speaking out against are to reduce the consumption of alcohol by students and to take preventative measures to make the students more safe. These are valid points and I respect them greatly, but I'm sure you see this after tonight, but beforehand when you decided to enforce them, I'm sure what you didn't see is that by enforcing these specific policies to the extent at which you're enforcing them, our ability not only to maintain but to develop and foster a family community of the student body and this campus is infringed upon. An extremely important characteristic of the school that makes St. Mary's what it is. And pretty much like the main reason why I fell in love with this school my first year and decided to stay. You guys are taking away a crucial aspect to each student's individual cultivation as a person, which I'm sure we can all agree is probably the most important goal of the St. Mary's Way. The St. Mary's Way is being sieged upon, and I'm not talking about the St. Mary's Way that's written on the website. I'm talking about the St. Mary's Way that has been passed down from student to student, generation to generation, and from these first 2 weeks, I'm already worried that these younger classes won't get the same enrichment from older students which I received when I was in their shoes. The administration doesn't recognize that this is the reason why we are as angry as we are. The underlying reason is that this isn't about us whining on not being able to party to our heart's content. No, it's about being able to continue what makes St. Mary's St. Mary's. Unbeknownst to you guys, you are taking huge swings at the spirit of this campus that makes St. Mary's what it is, and why have I endearingly called it home for the past several years. So for a second, I'm going to talk about the Greens, for obvious reasons, and also for the fact that's where I've lived these past few years. So the Greens is not a place that can be boiled down to simply a hub for drinking. Throughout the history of the school, the Greens has been the jumping off point where relationships are formed and cultivated. The Greens is the heart and the soul of this campus, and talk to any alumni and I'm sure they'll say the same. It's where you meet someone new and have a conversation, which turns into a friendly nod on the path, which turns into joining them at a table at campus patio, which turns into hearing the names of famous political leaders and great philosophers you've never heard before, leading you to want to learn more about them so you can be a part of the conversation next time that opportunity comes around. And next time when it does come around, when those folks you briefly met on the Greens one night welcome you into their conversation, you then find a home. And if administration is all right, I'm actually going to skip that part. A little too heavy-handed. So St. Mary's reputation has been built through our built through how our alumni thrive in the outside world. If we don't create the same types of people that we're known for, how will that reputation hold up? So to administration, I really don't mean to vilify you guys. I want us to work together to make this campus the paradise that it is. And if you perceive vilification, it's because I'm watching one of the things that mean the most to me in this world slip away. And from my standpoint, it doesn't seem like you're interested in creating a dialogue from where we can make sure that what makes St. Mary's what St. Mary's is preserved. So if you're interested, I'm sure loads of us are willing to open up the conversation. And to younger classmates, if you ever want to hang out, you know, share a meal, share some food, play some chess, talk about something you read in class that really gets you excited and passionate, you're more than welcome to come over anytime.
That's it for speakers for tonight, but we can now move into student speak out. I know I said our hard cutoff was 10 o'clock, but we will allow people to stay past 10. We've arranged so that we, the exec board, can stay. However, no one, including any of the wonderful administration who have been so kind to stay here, should feel obligated to stay past 10. If you need to leave, please don't feel like you gotta stay. But if you want to stay, we're here to listen. With that said, we do have some ground rules moving into student speak out. If you feel the need to speak up, do not make any personal attacks or we will stop you. That is the line in the sand. None of that. Please keep what you have to say concise and on topic. A lot of times we have people start to ramble, and that's fine to a degree, but try and keep it on topic. For the sake of keeping this professional, please kind of keep cursing and vulgarity to a minimum. My exec board can attest that I curse as much as the next person, but not today. And if someone else is speaking, please try not to speak over them. That's not the St. Mary's way. We're here to listen. All right. Now, if there's anyone wishing to speak out, please form a nice orderly line at the microphone.
One more thing, please form the line that way.
Hey guys, I know we just told you to go that way, but we kind of wanted to go this way so we can hear voices of the speaker a little bit better.
Hey everyone, I'm River. I live in Eco House, if anyone wants to stop by. Anyway, so I'm just concerned about this new policy and the fact that when drinking happens, when binge drinking happens, whatever, when parties happen, it's on the weekends, and that's when, the wellness center is not open, and, people don't feel that they have the resources. So I don't know if I really have a question per se, but just I feel like we need more resources on the weekend when the school is offline or whatever. And, I do feel like that there's definitely a big divide between public safety and the students. So if we could work together to make sure that doesn't happen so that we can have more resources for people who are actually alcoholic or have a problem with binge drinking, so that they feel safe to go to public safety and not feel oh, they have to go off, to another to off campus, so they have to, drunk driving or stuff like that. Yeah, so that's anything I want to just more resources in the weekends when the school's offline. That's what I want. Okay.
Hi, my name's Laura. I'm a junior here, and I wanted to talk about the relationship with this new policy, particularly the invite-only policy and Title IX. So basically, if someone is at risk of sexual misconduct or harassment, they will call to their friends and those whom they trust to come help with the situation. I know this through personal experience, as I have intervened in situations where friends felt afraid, alone, and as if they could not escape a predator. I was their only hope. Particularly with an institution that says it is actively addressing its Title IX policy, it is surprising and disappointing that the administration would enact a policy that will make it nearly impossible for their students to receive help. Please think about the safety of students and understand that limiting their access to parties or social gatherings will also limit their access to support.
Hello? Oh my god, okay. Hey, I'm Scott. I live on the Greens. I'm a senior. And I've worked at admissions for about 2 years now. So I know about the admissions problem that St. Mary's been having, about retention for 4 years, and about how students are more likely to transfer or drop out of St. Mary's earlier on. And I just kind of wanted to know how you think that these policy enforcements would affect your retention rate for 4-year students here at the college. I guess would be my question.
To be fair, this is a question for who? I can't answer that question.
Well, I'm just worried about like retention rate. That, like, if we feel we have a problem, we had the admissions crisis like a couple years ago where we just didn't get enough people, and we've been kind of struggling ever since to bounce back from that. And I was kind of wondering if whoever feels that they can answer it, that like how they feel that these policy enforcements that are being enacted this year will affect.
So, in the interest of time tonight, I'm going to take your question and address it to the appropriate people after this meeting, and I will come back to you with an answer. If you could actually like come up here while the next person is speaking, and I'll take everything down that you wrote. Is that good? Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Lynn, and I'm actually going to be reading a statement that was sent to me by Rebecca Malaga. She's studying abroad right now, so she couldn't be here tonight. And it's kind of going to go over a little bit of what people said before, but I think it's important that it's read. So here's what she said. St. Mary's is my home through and through. There is truly no other school I would rather be at than this one. I love everything about this place. However, it always feels like the administration is almost working against us. The fact that these policies were implemented without input from students, I feel, is even more damaging to the already rocky relationship between them and us. We have demanded actual consequences and punishment for perpetrators of assault and rape, and at least their removal from campus, and nothing has really come of it. This makes it all the more upsetting to us that the issue being focused on instead is drinking. However, assault and rape happens far, far too often at St. Mary's for drinking to take priority over this immediate physical, emotional, and mental threat to students. We have also asked for better safety measures and accountability. Students out partying for the first time are told not to go into houses they don't know super well because the risk of being assaulted is so much higher in someone's house. Houses on the Greens are notorious for being potentially dangerous, and being outside protects students from falling into these situations. The policies won't stop situations in which there is unsafe drinking, but instead students will be forced to go inside due to the risk of getting caught by PS and put themselves at risk of being assaulted, and have no safe way to get out because as soon as they leave the house, they'll get written up. Enforcing completely over-the-top punishments and fines for students who get caught drinking won't stop them from drinking. They'll just have to hide in unsafe ways and put themselves at even more risk. What the administration should really be focused on is how to make student spaces and environments where drinking takes place more safe, and make sure students have adequate resources and are educated in case they do find themselves in trouble. Keeping the Wellness Center well-staffed and funded so that they may help students more efficiently would be a much better start. The initiative on this issue should come from a health-oriented point of view rather than one that's aimed at creating strict new policies. There's already a serious lack of support of students, period. The enforcement of these policies will only leave more students stranded. By forcing students behind closed doors, the administration is allowing students to develop unhealthy habits and drinking behaviors that will hurt them. Frankly, it's allowing for sexual assault. I feel as though these policies only waste time and resources and energy that would be better off directed somewhere else, maybe towards improving and redesigning services offered through the Wellness Center. Students have a clear opinion on this matter, and it is up to the administration to listen to us and take our concerns seriously. I hope they will hear us.
My name is Nicholas Broda. Some people here know me as Cole. And I'm a math and a physics major, and like I've had some people tell me that double majoring is difficult and like maybe a heavy workload, but I don't really think much of it. But I do think that everybody here has a lot of work that they have to do, and they're like busy during the week all the time. And we are like just like overstressed and overworked, but at the same time I think that we deserve what everybody needs, which is like a balance to it. You need to balance, and like taking away the open invitation and not allowing like outside parties sort of just like makes things like that sort of like not fair, because you need something to balance it out. And if you don't have somewhere to like relax or have fun, then like I don't know, I can't support being at this school without something to relax and something to have. Like I would always go to the weekend parties at the Greens and just meet new people, have fun with them, get to know even more, and like it made a close community here. And I think that with the new policies, you're really taking away the very foundation of what this institution meant for like the St. Mary's spirit.
Oh, yeah.
So I am Terrain Carter. I am a sophomore here at St. Mary's, and I have a discrepancy with the fact that we are cracking so hard down on partying when we are already a very small campus and already under-enrolled, but yet we're not cracking down on multiple people who have multiple Title IX cases against them and are still on this campus. I personally have a problem with that. I personally have a problem with that. I feel that allowing people to have private parties where they can only invite their friends and people that they know gives people even more time and more space to commit these heinous acts and these inhumane acts against each other. Having public parties allows us to see what's going on. It allows other people to speak up and feel like they're able to go to each other and be like, hey, look, this is what happened. I need help. And the fact that now we're forcing our RAs and public safety to crack down on this while the administration are the ones who are enforcing it and want it to be enforced is ruining the relationship with public safety and the RAs. The reason why we have such a high rate of people going and reporting their sexual assaults, whether it's males or females, is because we have that relationship with public safety. If you're forcing them to tell us, you need to cut this party short, you need to turn your music off, you can't have this here, you can't have that here, that's making us not want to talk to them. That's cutting off the communication that is so important at this campus. And the fact that now we have to sit there and instead of going to them, which I have great relationships with public safety, I love them, I will go and talk to them and just sit with them and wonder about their day. They are already understaffed. There's 6 public safety members. So many people quit over the summer, and we have yet to replace them. And now they're being overworked. They're working 17 hours. They see us more than they see their own families, and yet and still we don't have that communication with them because you're forcing them to enforce these laws that are just breaking us down into wanting to be in these shells and wanting to shut off and just be angry at them when you're the reasons why. I just want to know why administration isn't taking the role of, oh, we are responsible for this, instead of letting public safety and the RAs on campus get beer bottles thrown at them and get alcohol poured on them. I just want to know.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James R. Hensley, and I'm here before you actually as a local from St. Mary's County. And the reason I took the time to come out tonight was actually about Title IX and alcohol. And the reason I said this is because, for example, if someone goes out to Lexington Park and gets drunk, and then they rape someone or anything horrible, it makes us look bad. I mean, we can't even control this. I think that the regulations, I'm gonna end real quick, in Annapolis were meant for Baltimore and PG and Moco, not the St. Mary's County. Because some people have to drive around here. There, they can take buses, whatever. We don't have that. So I thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
So this past year at my high school, a student passed away from drinking related reasons, and looking back at it and talking with my friends who were all present when this happened, the police and everyone were like, if you don't leave, we're gonna arrest you, we're gonna get you in so much trouble. And that kind of atmosphere, creating that atmosphere for students where they literally fear getting in trouble and they will run into the woods or hide or go into closed places they don't even know, promotes just unhealthy drinking and drinking behind closed doors. So if you're saying that we have to hide everything that we're doing and not be out in the open and everything, then you're promoting drinking behind doors, which then promotes sexual assault and getting into situations that aren't safe for you or others, and it just creates a bad atmosphere.
Hi, I'm Hayden Swartz. I'm running for Senator of Dorch. I used to... Dorch. Thank you, vote for me. I used to think that no one ran, what's the point? It's kind of a joke. Until I saw what's happening on campus. I thought, how can I just sit here and watch destroying our campus? And just getting my signatures, talking with students at Dorchester, even the freshmen, they don't want to see what's happening, and they're not making the connections that other people used to make. Talking to this guy I found in the woods, he met so many people in his first week there, and he told me it's just not the same anymore. I hate to see that happen. Thank you. Vote for me.
Good evening. I think that even though we may be a small campus, we have a sense of community here. We have a sense of community. That sense of community brings us together. Just because I'm a first year doesn't mean I should be locked in my dorm every night, which I feel like I am with a new policy like this. From my senior year, which it'll be here before I know it. And I would like to maybe possibly have an open dialogue between us so we can tell ask what's acceptable and what's not. And with this new policy, that's shutting that down. If you don't create a good relationship with your students, they will not come to you in a time of need.
I'm actually gonna sing a song for you guys. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say something very short. Do you want me to? Okay. I wanted to say something very short. The first time, I'm gonna cry. The first time that I ever felt like a part of this school was dancing to Mr. Brightside on the greens, and I was completely sober.
name is Sydney Thacker. I'm a senior, psych major, ed studies minor, co-president of SAC, and member of the women's lacrosse team. I am going to read a letter written by alumni of the women's lacrosse team and signed by many. To whom it may concern, as recent graduates and proud alumni of St. Mary's College of Maryland, we are writing to voice genuine concern for and strong opinion to the recently adopted enforcement strategies of policies that surround music and social gatherings on the St. Mary's College campus. It has become clear to us through social media and through speaking directly to current students that the college has been circulating a flyer informing students of new methods of policy enforcement that are in direct conflict with the St. Mary's Way. Additionally, we are concerned that the college's newfound adhesion to strict policy enforcement is misplaced. The student body should not be subject to an intensification of college rules because of a lack of control felt by the administration. We feel that these enforcement strategies will threaten the safety of the students as well as the perpetuation of the St. Mary's Way, making it difficult for the college to bring in new students. We are concerned about the safety and well-being of St. Mary's College of Maryland students. We understand that binge drinking is part of a toxic culture that is found at many colleges and universities across the United States. However, enforcing strict policies that encourage students to keep alcohol consumption under wraps only exacerbates the problem. As punitive measures intensify, a beer enjoyed with friends over an hour is likely to turn into a water bottle of vodka chugged in a matter of minutes. Students are less likely to ask for help if they fear disciplinary action will be taken against them. If rules are strictly enforced as the flyer outlines, students will be elsewhere to party. This will increase instances of impaired driving, severely putting students and community members at risk. The way these policies appear to be enforced are in a blatant contradiction with the St. Mary's Way. One clause describes St. Mary's as a place, quote, where people foster relationships based on mutual respect, honesty, integrity, and trust, end quote. A policy that does not allow, quote, open invite parties works against the principles of inclusion, diversity, and an exchange of ideas. It is also important to note that not all gatherings on campus, not all gatherings on campus to over 20 people involve binge drinking. I would like to add that that means my entire team cannot hang out all together, just to know. I lost my place again. These rules threaten the ability of larger groups on campus to bond. An outdoor ban on music, one of the 7 original liberal arts, is ridiculous. It goes against the element of St. Mary's Way that values, quote, the unique contributions of others' talents, backgrounds, customs, and worldviews, end quote. St. Mary's has always been a place where students are encouraged to express themselves outwardly, not within an invite-only gathering. We are grateful for our St. Mary's education, but it was the positive, inclusive experience of St. Mary's that makes us proud alums. As freshmen, quote, open invite parties on the townhouse greens allowed us to feel comfortable and accepted in the St. Mary's community. That is unique when considering the exclusivity that is present at many other colleges and universities. Not only does this flyer patronize current students, but makes St. Mary's a hard sell to high school students looking for a place they feel supported and comfortable for the next 4 years. We are deeply disappointed in the approach from its message to its delivery that St. Mary's has taken to combat binge drinking. Efforts would be better directed towards educating students on the risks of binge drinking and providing access to mental health services. Policing systems of the problem only mask the root. We hope that the integrity and spirit of St. Mary's will be maintained through thoughtful leadership willing to consider the opinions of concerned alumni. Signed, Kate Somerville, class of 2016, Shelby Newman, class of 2016, Gabrielle Beese, class of 2018, Kayla Dunn, class of 2016, Erica Cope, class of 2017, Meg Gessner, class of 2017, Mary Beth Anderson, class of 2018, Mackenzie Rayburn, class of 19, MAT, class of 18, and Megan Cannon, class of 2018.
Hi, I'm Ian. I don't really have anything to say about the alcohol issues, but I'd like to talk about dorms really, mostly Dorchester. Recently, I was walking down the stairs and hit my head on an exit sign, and there's I feel like there should be something to fix that.
My name is Nahid, and I'm a first-year student, and I think these rules on the greens really makes it hard to meet new people, because as an athlete, I can probably speak for some people, you have class, and you have practice, then you have to study, and then after that, then like, the day is probably over and the cycle repeats. So the weekends, the rare times you can honestly meet people on the greens, and I think it makes it really hard for people to do that with these new rules. So I just wanted to state that.
So this is pretty personal, so bear with me. But my first year, I went to Virginia Commonwealth University instead of St. Mary's. At VCU, I binge drank a lot, every weekend. And this was not at parties. This was not because someone was supplying alcohol to me. It was because I was spending my week planning on how I was going to go out and binge drink a 12-pack of beer in one night, inside my dorm, either alone or maybe with a handful of friends. I drank not because there was live music on, not because there was a party going on, but because I was lonely and I had nothing to do and there was no community there. There was very strict regulations at VCU for drinking, and that honestly even made it more fun for me. It gave me an element of excitement in which to binge drink and feel like I'm doing something. Towards the end of my time at VCU, I found myself with a school-sponsored alcohol program which helped teach people how to moderate and drink more safely. Nothing like that is present at St. Mary's, but that was what really helped start me get there. And eventually I transferred to St. Mary's, and my first semester here I did not drink. And everyone here was totally supportive, and I still felt like I could be included in the community without drinking because there's just so much else to do, and so much community just around parties and people drinking there. I drink way safer now. I honestly would rather just hang out with friends, sit around a little bit, or just go out on the greens. I'm afraid if, with these new policies, we are just going to give students a reason to drink and take away any community that they have with that.
Hello everyone, I'm Zachary Smith. I am class of 2020, and I'm also a transfer student. I want you guys to bear with me because I'm not very good at public speaking, so we're going to grok it though. I wanted to speak up for some of the transfers here because some of the people that know me know this, but in the first 2 to 3 weeks I had come in the spring semester, I felt really alone. I didn't know anyone, and everyone else already kind of had their friends set up, so I felt like no one really wanted me here, because I would walk into class, not say a word, and walk out, and no one seemed to care. Thankfully, though, because of how great this community is, people started talking to me, and they started getting me to come out with them, and they started actually trying to include me, and I felt welcomed here. And the school that I actually came from was University of Baltimore County, and if you people don't know this, that's not the biggest school, but it's a whole lot bigger than here. I would walk down the street, and I would be able to go a mile across campus, and I would maybe know 10 people. I counted, just out of curiosity, when I came here this semester, on the first week, how many people I know. The lowest number I got in the first 5 days was 23 people from LQ to the campus center. And to me, while the small classes and everything like that are great, don't get me wrong, it's that sense of community that really made it for me here. Because I couldn't imagine going to anywhere else anymore. And I just wanted to say I feel really upset for the next round of transfer students that will be coming in who have to miss out on this sense of community that we're going to lose.
Thank you, Zach. That was great. I like people, and there's more people on this side. So I don't know which way to face. So hi, I'm Keith, class of 2020. And so I wanted to discuss, like, with these new policies, just why exactly we have, like, why I feel like we have any policies, and it's like we want to have policies and rules implemented so that we can keep people safe, first and foremost. And I think that these policies seem like the new enforcement of these policies are more geared towards
scaring us into, or trying to keep us from reporting or letting our any drinking violation be visible. These new policies are very geared towards, it seems much more geared towards keeping things from happening where they are easily visible, and it seems to be much more geared towards the image of the college. And the college is more concerned with its image for marketing purposes. And I think that that's... And I think that's really, really something that cannot exist. And I don't think that it's done with a conscious attempt to say that they care more about image than us. But I do think that that is exactly what is reflected in this new enforcement policy. And I want to just state that no ad campaign or website is as effective of an advertiser for a college than its alums and its student body. And no student is going to want to come out of St. Mary's with this enforcement policy if they feel that they can't socialize and they can't engage in a large community culture. No student's going to come out of that and say, it was great. They're going to be very disenfranchised, and they're going to they're going to speak ill of St. Mary's. And quite frankly, if this is the way that things continue, that may be exactly what is deserved.
Well, the first thing that I wanted to say was my name is Alina, I'm a senior, and I'm commuting this year. I lived on campus all the other years, and I'm kind of lucky for a commuter. I only live 12 minutes away, and commuters I've talked to live hour away, hour and a half away, 45 minutes away. So they're probably not here right now, so I don't actually know how many commuters are here, but I know that it is easier to start focusing on my academics once I moved off campus, and it was a lot harder to see people I'm already close friends with, and especially actually meet new people, because it was so easy, because they were always a 5-minute walk from me. So I just met you, oh, you're 5 minutes from my bed. I'm just gonna go walk to you, oh, I already went to bed, but you wanna hang out, and I really need a new friend, so I'm gonna pretend that I haven't gone to bed yet, and I'm gonna get up. I can't do that now. So it's really nice knowing that on weekends, there's a group of people outside, and I don't really have to text anyone and go, hey, are you hanging out? Is there a group of people with you, or is it just you and one other person? It's a group of people, and I can just talk to them, and that's really nice to know. And I hope that happens this year, because I don't really know what I'm going to do socially otherwise. So, on the line there. The second thing is just a story that I remembered while I was crouched over there about my freshman year. My freshman year, there was no alcohol for us on the greens. We did not get drunk on the greens. We got drunk in our dorm rooms. I don't think I was ever offered alcohol on the greens as a freshman. There was a thing of Rickaloff in some dorm room, and it was gone in 20 minutes, and then we were all oh, let's go, it's 8 p.m., we gotta go. And then we'd run to the greens, and then we'd be hammered on the greens. And I just have this one memory of this girl. She was a senior, and she was in my creative writing class, and I was super drunk. I was way too drunk, and I was just lying on the ground. I was oh, the stars are pretty. I wasn't drunk enough to be on the ground, but I did want to look at the stars. And she came over and she was you gotta get up. People are gonna be worried about you. Let's get you some water. And she took me to a green's house to get me some water. And then this other girl showed up. She was what are you doing here? She was what are you doing here? And then this whole thing broke out, and I was I don't want to be involved, and I left. But she had good intentions, and I don't know what I would have done other than that, because in other situations, I go somewhere else. I don't like to be around people sometimes when I'm drunk, and I go to be on my own, and usually that's when I'm too drunk. But in that situation, I was too drunk, and I was away from my friends, but I was where there were people, and I was taken care of, and that made me realize I do need water. So I did drink water, just not where that drama was happening. So freshmen are gonna get drunk, period.
They want to do that. They're not going to not do that. But we need to take care of them, and I want to be able to do that.
Before we start, last one. All right, after this, I have a letter from an alumnus that I would like to read, and then we'll be done. That's it. All right.
I just want to say hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Talking with a lot of you guys in the group chat in these last few weeks, I've felt a lot of passion and a lot of heart from our campus community. Not only just people who are living on the greens who want to hang out, but from underclassmen who want to be able to live in their 4 years and have a great time and leave St. Mary's, knowing it's a happy place, a community place where they felt safe the entire time. I just want to say that these policies do not conduce that type of environment. These policies are, first of all, unclear. They leave us not knowing what's right and what's wrong. And they leave us with a sense of just uncertainty and vacancy that creates this, not a sense of community, but a sense of fear. If I go out and I hear music, should I run the other way? If I see a PS officer, should I talk to them? These are the things that we can't have running through our heads if we want this to be a safe, happy community environment. So I just want to say once again, thank you everyone. And I really hope these things change so we can bring back that community atmosphere.
Okay, that's it for Student Speak Out, but I do have this letter that I'd like to read. It will repeat a lot of things that have been said tonight, but I told my old roommate that I would, or old housemate that I would read it. This is from Cameron Kiani, who was one of my housemates when I was a first year. He was a senior, because I'm old, and so were they. So I'm class of 2019, he was class of 2016, and I lived with all of them, all 9 of them, in LQ19. Good years. So I am reading this verbatim. He does say some strong things. I'm just going to read them as they are. To whom it may concern, my name is Cameron Kiani, class of 2016. I write to you as a former chair of the Student Conduct Board, a former student ambassador for the Center for the Study of Democracy, a former member of the Sexual Misconduct Advocacy and Resource Team, whose college experience was in no way limited by loud music or binge drinking. Most of all, I write to you as a concerned alumnus of St. Mary's. While I speak only for myself, I can assure you that I do not represent a fringe dissenting opinion among my fellow alumni. I have been concerned during my time in school and since my graduation that my beloved St. Mary's is losing its way. St. Mary's was once well known as a party school, and in recent years has made understandable attempts to distance itself from that reputation and rebrand as a more serious academic institution. Change is never easy, and I applaud this difficult endeavor. What I cannot countenance, and what I can assure you will not achieve its intended goals, is diverting institutional resources, and focus away from educating young minds and towards micromanaging campus life. The new campus enforcement policy for open containers, open invitation parties, and amplified music is just the latest excess of an administration and public safety service that is obsessed with enforcing a puritanical vision of morality and respectability on campus. They will claim that this new policy and their increased authority on campus is for the safety and best interest of the students. Again, I am quoting. Yet during my 4 years on the conduct board, the most consistent threat to the safety and best interest of students was in fact public safety, with their violent, cavalier attitude towards enforcement, their egregious mishandling of sexual misconduct cases, and their obsession with documenting students for victimless infractions of college code. This changed for the better in the years following the firing of Sean Talarico, don't know that name, but the school now seems determined to return to those dark days. Keep in mind, he was here a long time ago. I can promise you that giving public safety increased latitude to regulate campus activity will not make anyone safer. It will only overload the conduct system with violators, impoverish campus life, and divert crucial resources that would be better spent on the salaries of our incredible professors, food services, custodial, counseling, and groundskeeping staff. No matter what changes come, I will never stop loving and cherishing the memories I have at St. Mary's. The St. Mary's way follows me everywhere I go, and I know how incredibly lucky I am to have spent my formative years on such an open and loving campus with such a vibrant student body. This decision is not for a lack of appreciation for what the school gave to us, but for the near certainty that our money will be wasted on pointless, misguided endeavors. I skipped the paragraph. because he gets a little heated. But the gist of what that lesson was, as long as the sorry state of affairs continues, I can promise you that myself and like-minded peers will not be donating a single cent to our beloved alma mater. This decision is not for lack of appreciation, but for what the school gave to us, but for the near certainty that our money will be wasted on pointless, misguided endeavors. Very respectfully, Cameron Kiani.